Hello everyone and welcome to a new vlog which is all about me and my childhood growing up. This particular episode will be all about school, where I grew up, how I ended up working, and then eventually in another episode we will talk about how I ended up moving and living in Tenerife. If you're new to the channel, I am Andrew. I do live in Tenerife now, have done for the last 8 years, but I'm going to take you right back to the start, starting with primary school where I grew up here in Maghull. I'm going to talk you through everything, take you to high school, some of the other key parts, also different workplaces where I used to work as well. So I'm starting off here in Maghull. You've got St Andrew's Church behind me, St Andrew's, and then you've also got St Andrew's Primary School, which is where I went to school from the age of, I think it was 4, all the way through. My sisters came here as well, St Andrew's, and I used to love it because I was Andrew and I went to St Andrew's. One of those things as a kid when you're like, you know, I thought it was the bee's knees because Andrew was in the name of the school. And it's not a hugely common name, St Andrew's, really. But yeah, this was my old primary school, brings back some memories. Our family home is literally just probably about a 5-10 minute walk from here. You got a lovely home that's for sale there. It's a gorgeous house. That's also up for 800,000. That. It's a very nice house, that one. But yeah, nice church. We used to go across. This is a Christian school. So we used to go across there and do different activities, especially at Christmas, Easter, the nativities and things in the church there. And yeah, this is it. It's changed quite a bit since obviously I was here, years ago. And they are building a massive extension to Days High School, I believe it is, that's going in on the fields there. But yeah, good memories from here. Now at the time that when I actually came to St Andrews, my mum worked here as well. She was a helper in reception, which was quite nice. It was only a couple of days a week, but I'd finish my school and then I'd go into reception and mum would be finishing off, and then I'd go home with mum, which was nice. But also, when I used to get in trouble, the teachers knew. So any trouble at all, they'd go straight and tell my mum, or they'd know my mum would be behind after school. So I did have to be on my best behaviour a lot of the time, because otherwise mum would have been told and I'd have been in a bit of trouble. There was a few times mum was called in and she wasn't impressed. But yeah, this is where it all began. I used to walk here to school. Well, Dad used to walk me here when I was young. By year 6 I was walking back home. And then we used to walk across to the swimming pool of Days High School, which is next door. Now that was where I was probably going to end up going to high school if I didn't manage to get into the 2 high schools that I was aiming for. One of those was Merchant Taylors in Crosby, and then the other backup was at St Mary's College, which was just next door, again in Crosby. If not, I was going to be going to Days High School, which did have a very good reputation back then. I don't know what it's like now. I've heard Maghull High is meant to be a little bit better, but I honestly don't know. But yeah, coming back here is weird. I remember getting off the bus here from school trips when we'd go off for the weekend, and that used to be my classroom there. Very strange, it's raining as well, typical. So what I'm going to do now is take you across to Crosby, where I did go to high school. I'm going to explain what happened with that, because I did actually fail. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to tell you all about high school, my high school years, what ended up happening there. And then from there, I'm going to take you to some of the places I used to work, starting from the age of 16. I was straight in there doing different little jobs. And then from there, I might take you to where I met Laura, the casino. And then that's where this episode will finish, and I will start a new one all about how I ended up moving to Tenerife, what jobs I did over there, and how I ended up with a car rental business over there as well. But a lot of you ask about my story, so I'm going to tell you a bit about my story, a bit about my background, a bit about my childhood. It is nice that I can come and visit all these different places when I come home. So do please hit the thumbs up. Make sure you do drop a comment as well. We're going to carry on now, and I'm going to take you to Crosby, which is about 20 minutes up the road from here. So before we go off to Crosby, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Maghull itself. It was a very nice place to grow up. I do still like it here. I would still live here as well. You've got loads of great schools around, loads of good facilities. The issue with it these days over the last few years is they're building an awful lot in Maghull. A lot of new builds around Maghull, which has made the roads, the infrastructure, getting onto the motorway down at Switch Island is a nightmare, because there's just so much traffic coming out of this area now. It was never as built up as it is now when I lived here. There's houses getting thrown up left, right and centre. Some of them nice, some of them not so much. But yeah, overall, lovely area to live in. It had everything you needed. You got the Meadows Centre there, which had all your sports and things. I'm trying to think if there's anything else specific to tell you about Maghull, really. It was quite nice because we lived here, just down the road. My dad's dental surgery was just down the road, so it did feel quite close-knit. My mum worked in the school. Everything was quite nice and local. Until obviously my sister started going off to school in Crosby, and then I obviously followed them. But yeah, it was nice local feel to everything. I had friends in the area as well. I don't think any of them are around these days, but yeah, overall, Maghull, nice place to live in. If you've been before, or you lived here, or you went to any of these schools, do let me know in the comments. I'm sure some of you might pop up and say that you remember this area, or remember that school, or remember this happening or that happening. I know some of you are going to ask, have you got any particularly funny primary school stories? Not in particular, just I remember silly little things like, not myself getting in trouble, but other people getting in trouble for like silly things like stealing a load of permanent markers. I remember one day, it was like a big investigation into who'd stolen these whiteboard markers. I remember the old classic blackboards as well. Some teachers had the nice new whiteboards with the pens, and other classrooms, the older ones, still had the traditional blackboards, with the chalk and it used to go through me. Those brushes, when they used to brush them off, hated it. Any other particular memory? Of course, all the old school dinners as well, with those trays where it was all cut out, your little allocated section for things. Hated school dinners, hated packed lunches. Mum and Dad used to go mad because I wouldn't eat any of my sandwiches. I'd have to take half a bite on my way home, and then I'd try and chuck it in the bush or something because I hated it for some reason. Hated school dinners, apart from if it was like those school cakes. Do you remember them? That square baked cake sliced up with a bit of custard on. Yeah, other than that, there's not a huge amount of memories from primary school really that stand out. I remember a lot of it, but there's nothing that hugely stands out. Just all your usual. Back then, when I went to school, Beyblades, if anyone remembers them. Beyblades were a big thing. Pokemon cards. In my final sort of year 5 and 6, there's a lot of football cards came out then, and also Yu-Gi-Oh cards, if anyone remembers them. They were all getting traded. Remember as well, I was speaking to Laura about this the other day, and back in year 5 and 6 as well. Does anyone remember that craze with charity rubber bands on your wrist? And if someone came into school with like a different colour that you couldn't get, it was like all the rave. Remember the yellow Live Strong bands? Everyone had them. And I remember I'd been on Florida on holiday once, and I got a few that you couldn't get here, and everyone was like raving over them. I think I had like a pink one and a black and white one. But yeah, I remember people that used to have like their arms filled with all these charity rubber bands, which, to be fair, all the money went to charity, so it was quite good. It was quite a good craze, really, because it did raise a lot of money for charity and a lot of awareness. But yeah, I remember there was like people were like trading them and everything. That was a big deal. And then the other thing, old classic conkers. Before all the health and safety. I don't think you can have them now. Just take your finger off. Old conker fights. But yeah, I'm going to head off to Crosby now. We'll jump forward a few years. I did fairly well at school. I wasn't a brain box, but I wasn't a clown either, so to speak. I did have tutors. I did struggle a lot with maths, so I did have a local tutor here as well. So by the time I got to year 6, I did have a lot of tutors because we were working hard towards these entrance exams to get me into the high schools in Crosby. They were private high schools, so there was an entrance exam to sit. So I did have a couple of tutors. I wasn't super brainy, but I didn't clown around much either. I did try and work hard. I was more good with my hands in terms of art, crafts, things like that. But we're going to skip a few years. We're going to jump straight from year 6 here. And I'm going to meet you in Crosby and tell you the story from year 6 onwards. Well, I've just pulled up here in Crosby at my old high school, St Mary's College. And it really has brought back some memories. Just even parking in this road, in this car, because it was this very car and it was this very road where I used to park. What are you talking about, 10 years ago now? Very strange feelings But yeah, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about high school. It didn't actually all start here. There is a little bit more of the story that starts just a few miles down the road from here before I actually got to this high school. So as I mentioned, the story doesn't actually start here at St Mary's. It starts at a high school just down the road from here, which is Merchant Taylors. Both of those are private schools. At the time, when I was coming up to go into high school, Merchant Taylors actually had the better reputation, and my sisters were already in the girls' school. There was Merchant Taylors boys, Merchant Taylors girls. So I was coming up for the entrance exam, did loads of extra practice. I had a tutor to try and get me through the entrance exams, because you do have to pass an exam and a test to get into the school, both of these. So I did go in for both entrance exams, and the theory was, well, one of them could be a practice or one of them can be a backup. So St Mary's was actually my backup, and the main aim was to get into Merchants boys. However, I actually failed the entrance exam to get into Merchants. They did call us in, called me, mum and dad in, and they explained that I just wasn't quite going to be at the level that they wanted. Very academic school, that one. However, I did get into St Mary's, and in hindsight, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, really, because it was a mixed school. It was a little bit less, it was still very academic. It's still a private school. You still have to pass an entrance exam. But it's hard to explain in hindsight. This had a lot more that was more suited to me, how I worked. It had different sports. It was just a very different atmosphere. It was less push academic. You could do other things, I found, with St Mary's. So I am very glad I ended up in St Mary's, with it being mixed as well. I preferred that. I didn't want to do all boys school. The biggest thing for me here as well was, we didn't know this at the time, but there was actually a golf team as well. So we did form a bit of a golf team. We went over and won events in Isle of Man. I loved the teachers here as well, and just some of the extra things. It is a Catholic school, so there was a big religion side to it, which wasn't my thing. There was a lot of masses and things like that, but that's what you sign up for, going to a Catholic school. But it was the other bits. They used to send you out and you do a lot of work experience, you do a lot of work for charities. Charity was a massive thing with this school, with the religion side of it. We were always doing charity events, things to raise money for charity. And I actually came out of here with very, very good grades. I did well in GCSE. But again, they continue to push the whole, got to go to uni, you got to go to uni. And of course, for these schools that are private, they do need the statistics. This amount of people got these grades, this amount of people went on to university. So I'm going to talk a little bit about university and things in a minute, what happened with that. But I got very, very good grades here. I went on to do A-level, design tech, business, and also IT. They were my 3 subjects at A-level. And then it was continue to push on with university. So as I sit here in the rain, in the park just behind, this brings back memories as well, not only the park, but also the rain. Yes, it was very much, what are you going to do at uni? What are you going to do at uni? Come to this event, they'll show you all these different university courses you can go and do. Now at the time, back in 2012, this was when they just changed the university fees to £9,000 a year. And I was already doing bits of work, I'd already started my working life, and I couldn't really decide what I wanted to do at university. I did do work experience with the police. I was interested in the police. So I did, in the end, apply for a criminology course at Liverpool. That was my choice for university, but I was still very much, is that something I really want to do? I could go into the police without doing a criminology course and having thousands of quid in debt. But I went for it. It was free to apply anyway, so I applied. I did all the UCAS forms, all of that. Got my grades that I needed at A-level, which was an A and 2 Bs, and I got into Liverpool University to do criminology. But it was £9,000 a year. Couldn't decide. I went and did some work experience as a dental lab technician. I quite enjoyed that. I felt more hands-on, and I felt more ready to go into work than study more. I was pretty much done with the studying, the revising, the exams. I was done with that really. So in the end, I got the offer. They were ready for me to go, but I decided against it. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to do it. Criminology as well. It didn't really lead to anything that I was going to be wanting to do. I could go and do the police if I wanted to without the course. In the end, I didn't go and do the police, but I did enjoy the work experience doing that. I did go and do a week of raiding cannabis farms and things, which was quite fun. I can't tell too many stories from that, but that was quite a fun week. But yeah, in hindsight, I got very, very good grades. I got a very good education from here. I learned a lot of things from here as well. As I mentioned, the charity work, every week we used to be down at a cafe just at the end of the road. We used to do voluntary work there for charity. So that cafe was all to raise money, and we used to work behind. I used to be cleaning dishes in there. We used to help them out once a week, and that was part of the school routine. And I'm not sure whether merchants did that sort of thing. I don't really think they did, not as much as here. So yeah, this was the high school I came to, that I absolutely loved and made up I came to, but was not the intention to come to. The intention was all to be down the road at Merchants. And there was always a big rivalry as well. I remember that, big rivalry between St Mary's and Merchants. Now, unfortunately, Merchants didn't have a golf team, but I always thought if we had a golf team, get a match on. And they always used to announce in assembly here if we'd played a derby of anything like volleyball, hockey, rugby, football, anything between Merchants and St Mary's, whether it was boys or girls, was massive. And we'd always want to win, always. It was always a bit of a one-up on them. It was always a thought like, you didn't let me in. I was always made up when we beat them at something or... But my sisters love Merchants. They did very well from Merchants. Again, though, they were pushed into the uni route. One of my sisters did very well from that. The other one did well at university, but in hindsight has ended up with a career that she could have gone straight into from school. She could have avoided going to university. And I think sometimes they're more about getting the grades, getting you into uni, than they are about what you actually want to do. So I think that's always important to bear in mind what you want to do. University's great, getting the grades is great, but if you could go straight into that career or what you want to do as a job before going to uni, then I would definitely do that, because so many people, I think, waste a lot of time and money going to uni when they could just go straight into that line of work, straight from school. So that my biggest example is my sister there. She's now doing vet nurse, and she could have gone straight into that from school, but the school were very much, you've got to go to uni, you need to get a uni degree, got to go to uni, what are you going to go and do? And the uni degree, as good as it is, has served her nothing. It's actually just delayed her career by a few years when she could have been much further into being a vet nurse. But yeah, that's where it all started. I did Duke of Edinburgh in there. All kinds. I remember CCF was a massive thing as well. Both schools did that. Going to the little uniform shop there, getting your blazer each year. Used to get one that was like 2 sizes too big, so it would last you. It all brings back a lot of memories. So with coming to a school in Crosby, that did mean that I had a lot of friends who lived in Crosby, and it is a lovely area, this. You do get a lot of footballers live around here. There's some lovely houses, some very old traditional Victorian houses as well. The biggest example I could give you was Richarlison from Everton lived around here. It is a lovely area, and there's a lot of nice sort of parks. You've got Crosby Beach down the way there with the Iron Men. You've also got the lovely golf course, West Lancs, which I was a member of for a few years. I had a friend there, James, who I believe is still there. And yeah, we ended up doing a lot of things in Crosby. I used to get the bus here every day, private school bus. And then eventually I started to drive then once I got into 6th form. But it was a bit of a trek. It was a long day because school used to start here at 8:45. Used to finish at 16:45, was it? I think. Oh no, 3:45. 3:45 we used to finish. So it was a long day. By the time you got the 45-minute bus in and then 45-minute bus home, it was a long day. But yeah, I used to remember Dad and Mum used to go mad as well. If we had extra activities or we needed picking up from school, they used to hate the drive with all the school traffic, because there's quite a few schools on this road. You've got probably 4 schools all on this road. The traffic used to be bedlam. So if we had extra activities after school, Mum and Dad would never be happy picking us up because the traffic would be a nightmare. But yeah, some lovely areas around here, some lovely homes. It was a nice place to come to school, to be fair. It was never any trouble. I used to have quite a few little nights out in the end in 6th form years, some little bars and things around here that we'd go to. Yeah, some very nice memories. So you join me now at Crosby Beach, which I just mentioned a little bit earlier. And this is still a little bit significant because I did come down here quite a lot. Just across the road there is West Lancashire Golf Club, where I was a member of for a few years. My friend is still there, I believe. And yeah, played there many times. Used to love coming down of a sunny afternoon, playing there, links course, where they have some of the open qualifiers. It's a fantastic course if you ever get a chance to play it. Well, that's where I famously got my hole-in-one on the 12th hole, 3-iron. And that was actually on a school match, that was, with my friend at the time. And that was actually a school match. So you think of, in hindsight, if things were different, if I didn't go to St Mary's, I probably wouldn't have joined West Lancs. I certainly wouldn't have been playing a school match, and I probably wouldn't have had my hole-in-one. So it's always funny, isn't it, thinking if I didn't do that, that wouldn't have happened, and that wouldn't have happened. And I remember here, the tide is right in here. This is where we have the Iron Men statues. You can see a few of them poking up. It's quite eerie, actually, when the tide's in. I remember as well, we used to come down here sometimes for like PE lessons, and we'd have sport activities on the beach here. So I always used to do different things. I remember doing massive long walks as well with school from here all the way to Formby sometimes. Like once a year we used to do that. But yeah, tide is right in here. I'm trying not to get wet. It is raining as well. Just got a lovely coffee from the Honest Coffee stand there. 2 lovely ladies in there. I do love a Starbucks, but I do like supporting a bit of local as well. Must be freezing in that little cabin, so I did buy a coffee off them. And I must say it's very nice as well. There's some nice looking cakes there as well. Yeah, tide right in. I've not seen it like this for years. For years I've not seen the tide right in like this. Quite a miserable day, I must say, to be out filming. Oh, geez, nearly got soaked. So I've got in the car now. Whoa, it is cold out there, especially when it starts drizzling, raining like that. So that now concludes the education side of things, where I grew up, teens-wise, what I was doing. And I'm going to move on now to working side of things. So a lot of the jobs I did during school time, not as in during school hours, but while I was in school from the age of 16, I was straight away had a job. But also before the age of 16, I was doing something else, which I will explain as well. So I did a little something probably from the age of about 15, I think. From 15, then I got... As soon as I could get in and get a job at 16, I did on that little minimum wage. I think back in the day it was like $3.95 an hour or something for a 16-year-old. So I'm hopefully going to show you some of those places where I did work. I was straight into it, although I was very lucky to go to private school. I was very fortunate that Mum and Dad could afford me to send me to private school. And I think that did put a bit of extra pressure on education because your Mum and Dad were paying for it. You had to work hard. And I did enjoy that side of it to a degree, having that sort of bit of pressure. You know, you didn't feel like you could sort of mess around. It was like, you know, this lesson is costing, when you divided it up, each lesson was costing like, you know, 50 odd quid. So I think that did sort of push me a little bit as well. But I was straight away, as soon as I could work, I was working, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed working. I enjoyed the thrill of learning new things. I enjoyed the thrill of saving up a bit of money. I was always into sort of making money, saving up, learning how you could make money, flipping things, getting things, selling them on again. That was one of the first jobs I'm going to go into. But I didn't actually have any jobs here in Crosby, surprisingly. They were all in West Derby, which was far away from here. This is probably about 40 minutes from here, 30, 40 minutes, West Derby. Other side of Liverpool, really. That's where my first few jobs were. But I think very, very important for anyone who might be watching, in my opinion, don't be pushed too much into what the school wants in terms of university. I know the schools won't like that, but go with your instinct. My gut feeling was to not go to university, to not get all the debt, to not do a course that I wasn't 100% set on. If you're 100% set, I want to go and do this course at university, then by all means go ahead, go and do it. But if you're not too sure, don't be afraid to take a year out and go and do some work experience, or get a job. You might then find a career that you want to go into. And don't be afraid just to not go to university at all. There's plenty at the time. There was plenty of scholarships, apprenticeships that you could go and do, go and learn a trade. So I don't think university is the be-all and end-all. I don't think having a university degree is as important as they make out. I think work experience is important. Having different jobs, different skills is important. I know a lot of people who went to uni came out with these great degrees, but they're still in a position or a job where they would be even if they didn't go to university. So I don't think it's the be-all and end-all. If you know what you want to do, go and do it. But if you're not sure, take a year out, or do a few different jobs first and see if it's something that you really, really want to go into. Because in hindsight, the best thing that ever happened to me was not going to university. If I'd have been, I'd have probably done well, I'd have worked hard, got the degree and everything, but I don't know where I would be now. Probably in the police if I'd have gone and done criminology. Did I need a criminology degree to go into the police? No. Would it have put me any further ahead than any other police officer joining? No. So I think very important to research into that. A lot of the schools want you to get into university, so they get their little, this many people, all the statistics, this many people went to university. But in hindsight, for a lot of things, you do not need a university degree. And the other thing which we're going to lead into is, of course, work. Highly recommend, no matter your background, no matter where you're from, get straight in and get a little job, get learning the life skills, dealing with people, how to handle things. And when you do get into those jobs, work as hard as you possibly can. That's something that St. Mary's did install into me, actually, was whatever subject you were doing, whatever class you were doing, whatever the homework was, whatever the exam was, whether it was a practice exam, it was always very much installed. You work as hard as you can for that class, for that exam, whatever it was, you had to put the full graft in. And if you weren't putting the full graft in, even after a full day at school, up at 7 in the morning, didn't get home till 5, you still had homework to do. It was very much graft. And that's what I then took in to the jobs that I got, was graft. Every job I've had, I've worked really hard at, learned it as best as I could, looked at ways you could sort of work your way up. And in each job I did, without tooting my own horn here, I did manage to sort of work my way up or work my way in. I worked hard, proved myself. Despite going to private school, everyone thinks, oh, private school boy and all that. We had all of that. I know all of that. But it's not necessarily like that, because I was straight in, getting a job, saving money, working hard. And I'm going to lead into all of those jobs and what exactly I did shortly. But for now, I'm going to finish my coffee and I will join you potentially in West Derby, where I'm going to explain what my first job was and how I started making money even back at age 15. So as I mentioned, when I was about 15, 16, this is what I would do. I would buy different old golf clubs. I used to have a bit of a supplier who'd pick them up from a car boot sale, sell them to me, and then I'd sell them on. The likes of this one. These are some that I didn't manage to sell in the end, or didn't sell. The likes of this one here. I found this one in a newspaper. I went and picked that up from him. I didn't end up managing to sell that in the end. There's a few sort of different leftover ones. 2-iron there, old ping thing. But yeah, I'd buy these clubs. I used to have the supplier, or what I would do as well is also traipse through eBay for people who didn't know what they were listing, or some people that just, for example, they put that on and just put golf club. They wouldn't know what it was. They wouldn't, put the brand on or anything like that. So I'd go through, I'd watch them, bid on them, try and pick some. I did that quite a lot. I ended up picking up a lot of iron sets, quite cheap. I'd bring them back. I'd clean them all, scrub them. If they were like these, I'd do the old Coke trick, put them in Coke, polish them up with a wire brush, and then relist them again, put them back on eBay. And that's one of the, it's quite a rare one, that one with the different holes in the back, that one. But yeah, I used to clean them up, tart them up, and then I'd bang them on eBay again, resell them. And I did that for a good few years. Even when I was working in the bars, I still continued to do that with the old golf club. So that's where it all started. I enjoyed that. I used to have a little table, work out how much money I'd made, and post them all off. Yeah, it used to be quite good. So everyone, this is where I got my very original job. This is West Derby Golf Club. I was a member here as a junior for many years. You had to have an interview process to get in, which was very helpful. Even though it was only a little interview when I was young, you did have to have an interview to become a member. And then what happened was I got very friendly with the pro in the pro shop, and I came here on the 10th green, start of the 11th tee, halfway round. And I used to sell chocolate bars, drinks and things from this hut here in return for Pro V1 golf balls, believe it or not. That's what I used to do, come out with all the snacks. I'd sit here, sell to people halfway round, make the pro shop some money. And that was all in return for some free golf balls. I think it gave me a couple of quid sometimes. But yeah, that was my very first job. That was about age 15, I think. Again, I was buying and selling the golf clubs at the time. I enjoyed sort of making a bit of money. Look how many Mars bars and things I'd sold. Quite enjoyed it. And then from there, I managed to make my way into the clubhouse. So yeah, from selling Mars bars here, I managed to ask for a little job in the clubhouse there, and I managed to get one as a glass collector at age 16. That's where I was on the little $3.95 an hour plus a few tips, and I really enjoyed it. And even when I was in there, I was always constantly thinking, I'm a bit bored of glass collecting now. I want to be on the bar. I want to know how to serve. I want to know how to pull the Guinness. I want to be serving. I want to get more tips. If I can get on the bar, I can get more hours. So that was always my thought process, trying to get that next level up. How can I move up? And I was doing little bits of training, but obviously I wasn't allowed to serve at age 16. So they were teaching me things, but I couldn't physically serve due to law until I was 18. But the minute I was 18, I turned 18 on the 28th of December. And by New Year's Eve was my first shift. I was straight on the bar, straight in there, and I was on it. I enjoyed it. They were impressed. I was happy as well. So worked my way into there. So then I was on the bar in here. Within a few months, I was being trusted to do a bit of cashing up as well some nights. I eventually had some shifts on my own where I'd cash up, lock up, put the alarm on the whole of the clubhouse, get the security man out, all of that, age 18. And then from there, I then got scouted for another job here in West Derby in the Conservative Club. They were looking for someone to cover, I think it might have been, I think it was some form of celebration or birthday. It was a big thing going on. They needed some extra staff for those extra nights, Saturday nights mainly. So I was then scouted to go across there, but many memories here of West Derby. This was my main golf club. This is where I grew up playing golf. I was a member of West Lancs, but this was my home course. This was the one where I played the most, won a lot of junior events here. Yeah, many memories here for selling Mars bars, playing after school. A lot of memories here at West Derby. A lot of people don't even know this golf course exists actually, because it is in the middle of Liverpool and it is sort of tucked away if you didn't know. But yeah, it's a lot of memories here, especially stood. This is a new shed since I sold here, but yeah, they have made a little thing of it now. But a lot of memories here. I'm now going to take you across to the Conservative Club where I got the next job, and these were the two places I worked right up until I left for Tenerife. So I was still doing shifts here, mainly just for big events really, for when they needed me, New Year's or some of the annual dinners and things like that. And then the Conservative Club, I had more shifts. They were more scheduled, quite a few days a week, and I was in here in those two right up until I left for Tenerife, which is coming up in the next episode. But let me take you across and show you the Conservative Club now. But you can see straight away from age 15 I was buying, selling stuff here, and then straight in glass collecting. Worked my way up from that, proved myself on the bar. From there you then get more shifts where you're trusted to cash up, lock up. From there you then get scouted for somewhere else. He's young, he's hungry, he can cash up there, he can lock up, let's get him in. So every single job I've had, always tried to work my way up. Got in there, proved myself glass collecting, work your way up onto the bar. was always trying to take that next little step. But let's go round and show you the Conservative Club now. And here we are, which is now Woodlands Private Members Club. It was West Derby Conservative Club when I worked here. And Mum and Dad do still come down here and have a little drink sometimes. And they do have a great function room in there as well, which I will show you. They have a lot of sort of funeral after parties, things like that going on. You do have Saturday nights where they'll have singers on and stuff. So if you are in West Derby, do keep an eye out. They have different ticketed nights and stuff in here. I'm going to take you in, show you the bar that I worked in. But yeah, this now brings back memories. You were doing stock take, things like that in here. Remember it well. Parking down here next to the smoking area, coming in. And again, this was one where I did work my way up, which I'll explain in a moment. So let me show you the bar area and everything in here. So this is it. That is the bar where I used to work. Used to do all the stock and everything. And as I said, I worked my way up. So first of all, I was doing a bit of cover. Then I started to get some permanent shifts, some routine nights. From then, continued to work my way up, gained the trust, proved myself doing the cashing up. Then from then, started to get full shifts on my own, locking up, opening up, doing the stock, all of that. Worked my way up to head barman in here. And then from there is when I left to go to Tenerife. But yeah, again, good memories in here. Mum and Dad have had some good nights in here as well with acts. We do still come down and play a bit of bingo in here. It's very traditional. But yeah, really good size function room, which you can hire if anyone was interested. It is a good size room in here with all the disco lights and everything. But yeah, it brings back some memories. This does, really does. I remember standing behind the bar, texting Laura on my break, all of that. Very interesting. And this is also where Dad has done a little bit of DJing as well, a bit of comparing. Funny. He does call the bingo sometimes as well. But yeah, I will try and include a bit of B-roll of the bingo, which I might pop down for another night if I get a chance. Yeah, more and more memories, but again, key is working up, working hard, proving yourself. I was always wanting to work that way up. But yeah, this was my last job in the UK before it was off to Tenerife. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this so far, everyone. It does give you a real good insight into my life before I left the UK to go and live in Tenerife. And we could do the same with Dad as well. Just been speaking to Dad, who's with me at the moment for this little bit. And we could do the same with Dad's story, how he grew up round here on the council estate, then went on, did all his training, became a dentist in the end. We could do the same. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do please hit the thumbs up as well if you've enjoyed it so far. We're going to make our way back home now. But yeah, it gives you a real good idea of what it was like. But the main key things are working hard and also that bit with the uni as well. They were the two key things for me. Working hard straight away from a young age and not going to university. But yeah, this weird being back here and then thinking that one day I just decided, right, we're off to go to Tenerife. That story will be coming up, everyone. Don't worry, the story of going to Tenerife wasn't intending to go and live there for this long, so all of that story will come out. Remember, I moved over there many years ago, so it was much easier than it is now. But we will discuss all that in the vlog to come. But let me know your thoughts on this one so far. Well, here we are, everyone. We now jump to Leo Casino here in Liverpool. And Laura has joined me as well. This is where me and Laura first met.
Yeah.
Laura was working here, yeah.
Yeah.
And what I used to do was I'd finish work at West Derby, either at the golf club or the Connie club, and my mum and dad would normally come down here, be having a drink. So I'd finish work and come straight down here, have a drink, and normally I up Laura for a little bit.
There you go, yeah, because I'd be working till 7 in the morning normally, wouldn't I?
Then I'd try and get a bit of flirting in, but Laura never liked serving me. She used to run away, used to run away from me. Used to ask everyone if they wanted a drink apart from me.
I did.
Does it feel weird to be back?
It does, because I've not set foot even on this car park since I left.
Since you left, and you left here and we were straight off to Tenerife.
Yeah, so it's weird being back here, seeing the smoking areas and stuff. They've changed.
Yeah, we're going to pop inside just to give you a quick little look around. We're not going to have a gamble or anything, I don't think.
And we can't show the machines, but we can show you the bars.
Yeah, I can show you a few little bits.
Yeah.
We have to bring back some memories for you, Laura. But yeah, this is where me and Laura met, and then we were together for 3 months before it was off to Tenerife. That again, remember, is going to come in a separate vlog, but we're going to finish it all here. and then we'll pick up for moving to Tenerife. But let's wander inside and check it out. I've not been in here for years. So how's it feel to be back, Laura? I know you used to love these views. Got great views from this casino out onto the water.
I wasn't even looking at my manager. I was looking out. I was like, I'm really sorry. There's boats and everything on here. And I was just like, loving looking out. So when it was quiet, when the sun was rising, I could see the go out there, sit me in and just watch the sunrise.
Nice. And then that's the bar where you used to be, behind the bar there. You used to chat you up.
Yeah. Well,
That's where I asked you out on your first date there.
There's a hide there to do nowhere. Yeah.
So you see people out on the kayaks. Yeah, it's nice and quiet in here. Obviously, it's daytime now. It's changed a bit though, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Still got these old chairs though. Still got these.
Got a lot, yeah.
So I am just having a little play, just for old time's sakes, just quickly. I'm used to seeing you behind there, Laura, not here. Weird feels, isn't it?
Yeah. Because we could never come on our days off and gamble. We're never allowed to.
No.
That was a rule, yeah.
You had a few nice meals and nights out though, didn't you? Well, this is where the story ends for now. Leaving this casino, Laura finished her work here, quit her job, and I quit my job, and we're off to Tenerife in our next episode. I'm going to be telling you all about moving over, what we did, how we did it at the time, which has changed now, what jobs we had, how I ended up with the business. That's all coming up. But for now, I hope you did enjoy this little vlog episode, whatever you want to call it. Let me know in the comments your thoughts. Please do hit the thumbs up as well if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe, especially if you're interested in Tenerife content. We have got over 1,000 videos on the channel, so do check the other videos out. But yeah, I've enjoyed telling my side of the story. It's been really interesting coming back, getting some nostalgia from school, all these different places. I do recommend, if you've got spare time and you're not far away from your old school and some of your old jobs and old work, do go back and revisit them if you've got good memories. I know some people probably have bad memories of school, but
yeah, I wouldn't want to go back to school now.
For me, I've quite enjoyed sort of uncovering it and rediscovering some of the past memories I've got. Yeah. But that gives you a really good idea of my life before we moved to Tenerife. That's coming up. Thank you very much for watching. I walked out with 40 quid. I put 20 in, walked out with 40. That's all right. Paid 20 quid to pop and visit. That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah.
But thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you have enjoyed it, and we'll see you when we're off to Tenerife.
Bye, guys.